been complained by people.
Honorable Speaker, anytime a day before I am about to cross, I never sleep that night. I would also call anybody that I know working at that terminal to ask for the status of the ferries. It is really a state of concern.
But I think the affected areas could have taken the bull by the horn and even contact the ferry services for the slowdown in what they promised. Because as a committee, we could have done it, but we will do it, but we will be doing it at a pace.
After 2 weeks of due deliberations and heated arguments, the House of Parliament today stands Sunday to a later date. For GRTS News, I am Ajay Sise.
You can also follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. We'll take our first break. Stay tuned.
From hard news.
I want to direct this question to the FAO.
The Human Interest Weekend Spectrum is the program that spices up your weekend with news, breaking events in and outside the Gambia.
Meet the people who inspire others to think and change the world.
These culminated experiences were able to show anybody in New York that I'm somebody who's tough and I'm able to survive and carry out the work that I'm given. So it was a process, a tough one, but all in all, as I said, with the grace of Allah and with the support of parents and with the confidence of coming from a small country like Gambia and having a lot to prove.
Focus should be in strengthening families to ensure that they keep their children and also vulnerable families.
At this time on GRTS.
Karim Wade, a son and top aide to former Senegalese President Abdoulaye Wade, has been called for questioning at a Dakar Gendarmerie headquarters. Hundreds of supporters and curious watchers stormed the vicinity of the Gendarmerie headquarters, many denouncing the move to investigate former aides of the former president. Karim Wade is facing allegations of embezzling huge public funds during his time as senior cabinet minister. We have details of that story in this report.
A few dozen people gathered outside the Gendarmerie in Dakar Tuesday morning as soon as they heard the news. Inside, police were questioning their leader, Karim Wade. The son of the former president was grilled for 2 hours. What the gendarmes want to know is, how did he obtain the wealth he possesses? Karim Wade left as discreetly as he could. His supporters are furious.
We are on our guard because this is the beginning of a very dangerous regime. And it must be said, as I have said, it is a dictatorial regime, a Hitler regime which is trying to use Stalinist methods to stain the honest citizen.
The interrogation was part of an investigation launched by President Macky Sall on the ill-gotten wealth of those with ties to the former government. The goal is to determine what happened to public funds under President Abdoulaye Wade. Karim was Minister of International Cooperation, Infrastructure, Aviation and Energy during his father's mandate. He also handled big construction projects like hotels and roads. Karim Wade was widely criticized for mismanagement of public money while at the head of the super ministry with a huge budget. The Senegalese journalist Abdul Latif Coulibaly wrote in 2009 that under Karim Wade, some 305 million euros disappeared.
The new chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has warned members of the radical Ansaruddin who have embarked on pillaging Mali's ancient historical sites. Their destructive acts could be considered war crimes. At a UNESCO meeting, officials offered to provide Mali special financial package to safeguard its World Heritage sites. We have details of that story in this report.
At the annual UNESCO meeting held in St. Petersburg today, they stood united in their anger. The ambassadors to UNESCO stood up to support the Malian Minister of Culture, who was in tears after the recent destruction of the mausoleums in Timbuktu. The French ambassador, Fadima Diallo, offered his shoulder to cry on.
We call on the governments, international organizations, NGOs, the media, and public opinion, and to all the good people who will not allow the barbarians to wipe from the planet these monuments which bear witness to one of the greatest histories of mankind.
It's a big destruction for us. We are attacked in our heart. This is really a shock for the local people because we have our grandfathers, our ancestors buried, and at the same time they even attack the tomb of people.
UNESCO is looking into creating a special fund to help Mali conserve and restore its heritage. They will send a mission as soon as possible to assess what damage was done. According to witnesses, 7 out of 16 mausoleums in the sacred city were destroyed. The door to the mosque lays in ruins. The Islamists have promised to not stop and vow to destroy all the other religious sites. They turn a deaf ear to the warnings from the International Court who consider such destructions as war crimes. I ask those who are committing these serious crimes to immediately cease destruction of these historical monuments or risk punishment under the International Criminal Court. Timbuktu, the Pearl of the Desert and a UNESCO heritage site, was placed just last week on its list of sites in danger after falling into the hands of destruction.
After months of mistrust and wrangling over the issue of the closure of U.S. supply lines to Afghanistan by Pakistan, authorities in Islamabad have given the U.S. the green light to start using the crucial supply lines. The closure of the vital routes came shortly after a U.S. drone attack killed 24 Pakistani troops. The Taliban has threatened it will attack U.S. supplies crossing through the country.
Pakistan reopened its land routes that NATO uses to supply troops in Afghanistan after a 7-month closure. The supply lines were shut in protest after 24 Pakistani soldiers were killed by accident in a NATO airstrike. The agreement is a relief for the United States and its allies as it will facilitate the withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan. Closing the supply lines forced the coalition to use longer and more expensive routes.
The continued closure of supply lines not only impinge on our relationship with the United States, but also on our relations with the 49 other member states of NATO. Exit of international forces from Afghanistan is in the interest of longer-term peace and stability in the region.
The U.S. government apologized for the deaths of the Pakistani soldiers and promised Pakistan $1 billion for its army to secure land routes against the Taliban.
We are happy that the United States has apologized to Pakistan. We are also happy that we will get our jobs back. The government has taken its decision. Now they should provide us security. Our vehicles are burnt. I heard last night that Taliban have threatened attack.
Reopening the supply lines will be a tremendous help to the United States in withdrawing its 130,000 troops, all of whom should be out of Afghanistan by 2014.
We'll now take our second break. Stay tuned.
It's traditional that your national GSM provider, Gamcell, takes many of its valuable customers to Mecca each year. This year again, Gamcell will offer 10 more of its valuable customers a complete Hajj package in a draw to be held live on GRTS television. Yes, your Hajj is possible by simply loading $50 scratch card or Nopal. You can win not only a return ticket to Mecca, but also $1,000 travel allowance, food and accommodation in Medina and Mecca. Remember, the more you load $50 scratch card or Nopal, the more you increase your winning chance. With Gamcell, your Hajj is now easier. Gamcell, yay barom.
And before we go, a reminder of our headlines. Gambians studying in Taiwan have benefited from a presidential largesse in the form of a dinner hosted by Professor Jame. Officials on an assessment tour of the July 22nd pavilion have expressed satisfaction